The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung. There are moments in life when you meet someone and your whole body reacts before a single thought has a chance to appear. You feel a quiet relief, a sense of calm that defies logic. It is as if every cell in you recognizes them from somewhere beyond memory. This is not a coincidence. It is the most ancient intelligence you possess, the one that speaks through sensation instead of words. Carl Jung once said that the body is the unconscious made visible. Long before the mind begins to analyze or to reason, the body already knows. It knows who feels safe and who feels uncertain. It knows the difference between love that nourishes and attraction that burns. Yet, somewhere along the way, modern life taught us to distrust this knowing. We make lists of traits. We measure compatibility. We rationalize our hearts until we can no longer hear what the body is trying to tell us. In this conversation, we will explore that forgotten wisdom. You will see how your body reveals the truth of your relationships through breath, posture, and subtle energy. Jung called these somatic signifiers of the soul, signals that arise when the unconscious meets another soul that matters. By the end, you will understand that your body has always been guiding you. You only need to listen. If you have ever felt confused between chemistry and connection, between excitement and peace, stay with me. What we discover tonight may change how you recognize love for the rest of your life. And don't forget to follow so you can continue listening to more stories and reflections with us. It began, as these things often do, in the smallest of moments, a quiet cafe on a rainy afternoon. The kind of place where people hide behind cups of coffee and half-read books. A woman in her late 50s sat by the window, watching drops of water trace slow paths down the glass. She wasn't expecting anything unusual that day. Her life, like many at that age, had settled into a rhythm of gentle solitude. Work, home, a few close friends, a steady calm. Yet as she turned her head to reach for her cup, her eyes met someone else's across the room. Nothing dramatic happened, no instant spark, no thunderclap of attraction. Just a strange quiet. Her breathing slowed, her shoulders softened. It felt inexplicably like recognition. He smiled, not the kind of smile that tries to impress, but the small, unguarded kind that carries warmth without effort. She didn't know him, and yet her body did something she couldn't explain. It relaxed. It said, "You are safe here." Later, when she tried to recall the moment, she couldn't describe what exactly drew her attention. He wasn't her type. He wasn't even someone she would have noticed on another day. But something inside her had already noticed. That night, as she lay in bed, her mind replayed the scene again and again. Not the man's face, but the feeling, the quiet stillness in her chest, the deep, unexpected calm that had followed her home. Carl Jung would have called this the body's recognition of the soul's familiarity, a subtle, wordless knowing that bypasses logic. It is not the rush of infatuation, but the echo of alignment. When such moments happen, the mind tries to dismiss them as coincidence, But the body holds on. It remembers. In modern life, we are taught to value chemistry, that electric pull that feels like destiny. But Jung warned that intensity can be misleading. True connection, he said, is not recognized by tension, but by ease. The right person doesn't accelerate your heartbeat, they steady it. The body, in its ancient wisdom, knows the difference between excitement and truth. If you look back at your own life, perhaps you can recall a similar moment, not of fireworks, but of quiet recognition. A person who felt strangely familiar, as if you had known them long before your paths crossed. That is the body speaking the language of the unconscious. And it is this language, subtle and powerful, that we will continue to unfold together.
Modern psychology often tries to explain love with data, hormones, and theories about attachment. But long before science gave it a name, Jung observed something that cannot be measured so easily. He noticed that the human body reacts to truth and falsehood differently. When something aligns with your deeper nature, your breath steadies, your pulse slows, and your muscles release. When something is wrong, even slightly, the body tenses, the stomach tightens, and the chest feels heavy. This is not poetry. It is biology speaking the language of the soul. Your nervous system holds memories older than words. Every gesture, every breath, every heartbeat carries the trace of your life's experiences. What felt safe? What felt dangerous? What felt like home? When you meet someone new, your body does not see their face first. It reads their energy, their tone, their movement. Without a single conscious thought, your nervous system begins to scan for familiarity. It remembers patterns of warmth, of threat, of tenderness. What feels like intuition is often your body comparing the present moment to an entire library of sensations accumulated over a lifetime. Neuroscientists today call this neuroception, the body's unconscious ability to detect safety or danger. It is a survival mechanism, but Jung understood it as something more, a bridge between biology and spirit. When two people meet and their bodies respond with ease, he called that embodied recognition. It is not the thrill of novelty, but the peace of resonance. The body says, I know this energy. I can rest here. But this same system can also mislead us. When a person's energy mirrors a pattern from our past, the body reacts strongly, even if that pattern once brought pain. This is why so many people feel magnetically drawn to those who will later hurt them. The body isn't craving love, it's craving familiarity. The nervous system confuses recognition with safety, even when it remembers danger. Jung saw this as the shadow at work, the parts of ourselves we have not yet healed, calling for attention through attraction. Think of the times you met someone who stirred something powerful in you. Your mind said, this is fate. Yet your body, if you listened closely, carried both excitement and tension. That tension is the whisper of the shadow, the warning wrapped in desire. It is not punishment, it is an invitation to awareness. The body is showing you where you are still unhealed, where your heart is still repeating old lessons in new forms. When Jung said that the body keeps the score of the soul, he was describing this very dance. Every connection becomes a mirror, reflecting not just who we love, but what still waits to be understood within us. Learning to read these signals is an act of self-knowledge. The body doesn't use language, but it tells the truth in sensations. Warmth, ease, expansion, these are signs of alignment. Contraction, anxiety, exhaustion, signs of resistance. Modern research now confirms what Jung intuited nearly a century ago. Studies on heart rate variability and polyvagal theory show that when two people feel emotionally safe together, their bodies synchronize, their breathing matches, their heart rhythms align. Even their facial micro-expressions mirror each other. This physiological harmony is called co-regulation, a scientific echo of Jung's idea of psychic resonance. When it happens, the body knows it has found a connection, not competition. It is a form of peace, disguised as presence. Perhaps you have noticed this in your own life. Sitting beside someone without speaking, yet feeling completely understood. Or laughing without effort, not because the joke was clever, but because something in you relaxed enough to be open. In moments like these, your body is not performing, it is remembering how to belong. So when you meet someone new, pay attention not to the sparkle in your thoughts, but to the silence in your body. The real signal of truth is not excitement, but ease. Jung believed that if more people learned to trust this inner compass, they would spend less time chasing intensity and more time cultivating depth. The body does not lie. It speaks in breath, stillness, and the quiet pulse of recognition. But here is the question most people avoid asking. What if the body's reaction isn't always wise? What if what feels magnetic isn't peace, but repetition? What if the very signal we mistake for destiny is actually our past, disguised as attraction? Jung warned that the body carries not only wisdom, but memory, and sometimes memory can seduce.
The shadow's trap, when the body confuses familiarity with love. Have you ever met someone and felt your entire being light up, only to realize months later that the same fire that drew you in was slowly consuming you? Have you ever called obsession chemistry or mistaken anxiety for love? These are the questions Jung wanted us to face honestly, because behind every powerful attraction lies a psychological story. There is a cruel irony in human nature. What wounds us most can also feel the most familiar. We meet a person who triggers something deep. Our hearts race, our breath quickens. We can't stop thinking about them, and we think this must be fate. But Jung warned that the most magnetic encounters often awaken not our wholeness, but our unfinished wounds. What you feel is not the pull of the soul, it is the gravity of the shadow. Ask yourself this: why do you keep feeling drawn to the same kind of person, even when you swore you'd never go through it again? Why does the body respond with excitement to someone who feels slightly unsafe? Why does calmness feel dull, while chaos feels alive? These aren't accidents. They are the echoes of the past, rising through the body, asking to be understood. The shadow is made of everything we learned to hide. The anger we swallowed, the tenderness we denied, the loneliness we pretended didn't exist. It waits in silence until life brings someone who mirrors it perfectly. When that person appears, your body recognizes the pattern before your mind does. The heart says, finally, even if what it recognizes is pain. Think of the woman who grew up in a home where love had to be earned. Through patience, through pleasing, through silence. As an adult, she meets a man who pulls away when she gets close. Her chest tightens, her chest burns, but she calls it passion. She says, "He challenges me. He makes me feel alive." But what she really feels is the rhythm of survival, the old dance of proving her worth. Jung would call this shadow projection, the body mistaking what is known for what is right. Can you recognize that pattern in yourself? The person who excites you but drains you,
The one who makes you feel both desired and unsafe. That push and pull isn't love, it's unfinished business. It's your nervous system chasing the chance to heal a story that began long ago. The danger is that the body confuses intensity with importance. The faster the heart beats, the more real it feels. But aliveness born from anxiety is not love, it's adrenaline. And when adrenaline fades, emptiness follows. How many times have you said, "I know this will hurt me, but I can't stop"? How many times have you chosen the storm over the calm? Because the calm feels like home. This is not weakness, it is memory. The body is trying to finish a chapter it didn't get to end. Jung believed that every obsessive attraction carries a hidden invitation. Come and meet the part of yourself you've left behind. So the question becomes, will you chase that attraction again? Or will you listen differently this time? Can you stay still enough to hear what your body is truly asking for? Not the thrill of danger, but the peace of being seen. Real love doesn't make you dizzy, it makes you steady. It doesn't keep you guessing, it lets you rest. Jung called this the movement from projection to integration. The moment you stop looking for your missing pieces in someone else because you have begun to reclaim them within yourself. When that happens, something changes in the way you experience attraction. It stops being a fire that burns and becomes a light that warms. The heart no longer trembles in fear of loss. It opens in quiet recognition. And for the first time, the body tells the truth without trembling.
The quiet recognition, how the body knows it's safe. What does it feel like when it's finally right? Not exciting, not overwhelming, but right. Not the rush of passion that fades by morning, but the quiet rhythm of something that lasts. Have you ever met someone who didn't make your pulse race, but instead made your shoulders drop? Someone in whose presence you could simply breathe. That is what Jung called the body's recognition of safety. The moment your nervous system stops preparing for battle and begins to rest. Many people overlook this feeling because it doesn't sparkle. It doesn't demand attention. It feels almost too simple. You may even doubt it at first, asking yourself, where's the excitement? Why isn't my heart racing? But that calm, that subtle exhale, is the sign you've been waiting for. It is your body whispering, this time, you don't have to fight to be loved. The right connection doesn't flood you with adrenaline. It invites you into stillness. Time slows, conversation flows without effort. Silences are comfortable rather than heavy. You find yourself laughing easily, not because you're trying to impress, but because you feel free. The body speaks softly through these signals, muscles unclenching, breathing deepening, the nervous system returning to balance. Jung described this as embodied belonging, a state where your entire being says yes without noise. Ask yourself this: when you're with someone, do you feel expanded or diminished? Do you leave their presence energized or quietly drained? Does your body feel like it's arriving home or like it's walking on glass? These are not abstract questions. They are the compass points of love. Your body measures truth long before your mind does. A woman once described meeting her partner and feeling something she couldn't name. She said, "It wasn't fireworks, it was relief. Like I had been holding my breath for years and finally remembered to exhale." Jung would call this the homecoming, the moment the unconscious recognizes harmony, not because it's perfect, but because it's true. If you've lived through years of emotional noise, this kind of peace can feel suspicious. You might even push it away. You might tell yourself, this is too calm, something's missing.
but nothing is missing. You're just not used to peace. The body that once associated chaos with love now must learn that quiet does not mean emptiness, it means safety. Jung often said that authentic connection is not the fusion of two halves, but the meeting of two wholes. The right person does not complete you. They allow you to remain complete while standing beside them. You can breathe without adjusting your rhythm to theirs. You can be silent without fearing distance. You can disagree without fearing loss. That is what the nervous system calls regulation, the biological foundation of emotional truth. Have you noticed how with the wrong person, your thoughts spiral even when they're not around, but with the right one, even their absence feels calm? The body remembers their steadiness. This is not dependency, it is resonance. Two systems harmonizing, creating what Jung called the field of relationship, an invisible current where both can exist without pretending. Real love isn't a performance, it's presence. It doesn't seek to impress, it seeks to understand. When you sit next to that person and feel no need to fill the silence, that's your body recognizing what words cannot express. You don't have to earn comfort, you simply are. If the shadow's attraction feels like electricity, the body's truth feels like sunlight. Gentle, constant, and quietly transformative. It does not pull, it steadies. It does not demand, it allows. Jung described this as soul-level resonance, the point where the unconscious no longer projects or defends, but rests. So the next time you meet someone and feel that strange quiet, don't overlook it. Don't tell yourself it's too simple. Peace is the loudest sign your body can give you. Ask yourself, can I breathe deeply here? Can I be myself without shrinking? If the answer is yes, that is your compass. That is your truth. Love, at its highest form, is not found in the rush of beginning, but in the ease of being. It is not what sets you on fire, but what teaches you to stop burning. And perhaps that's the most beautiful secret Jung left for us, that the body, when we finally trust it, becomes the most honest storyteller of all.
The integration, when the body begins to heal through love. What happens after you find the person who makes your body feel safe? You might expect peace to last without interruption, as if love itself erases all old pain. But Jung warned that even the right connection awakens everything that has been waiting to be healed. The moment your nervous system realizes it is finally safe, it begins to release what it once held in silence. That is when the real transformation begins. Have you ever noticed how, right after falling into something good, fear suddenly appears? You start worrying you'll lose it. You question whether you deserve it. You pull away without meaning to. It feels like sabotage, but it's not. It's your body testing the reality of safety. For years, it has survived on vigilance, on tension, on the quiet belief that closeness is dangerous. When that pattern finally breaks, the body panics. It doesn't know how to rest yet. Jung called this the alchemical marriage, the physical and psychological process through which the soul learns to hold intimacy without fear. It's not always beautiful. Sometimes you feel old emotions rise like smoke, grief that doesn't belong to the present, tears without reason, fatigue that feels endless. You might even wonder, why am I anxious now that things are good? But the truth is simple. The body cannot heal in danger, only in safety. And when love gives it that safety,
it begins to let go. Healing love often begins as chaos disguised as calm. The nervous system replays every old alarm just to check if it's still needed. You might dream of past partners, feel unexpected sadness, or catch yourself holding your breath again. This is the body's rehearsal, a way to ensure the new piece is real. Jung compared it to eyes adjusting to light after a long time in the dark. It hurts at first, not because light wounds, but because the body needs time to learn what it means to live without fear. Ask yourself this: when closeness makes you uncomfortable, is it because something is wrong with the other person? Or because something in you doesn't yet believe you are safe? Can you sit with the discomfort without running? Can you recognize that your body isn't rejecting love, it's learning it? There's a story of a woman who, after years of being alone, met someone kind. He didn't chase or withdraw, he simply stayed. Yet every time he grew gentle, she felt uneasy. Her instinct was to argue, to find fault, to push him away. One day she realized she wasn't reacting to him. She was reacting to the ghost of every time kindness had turned into control. Her body didn't trust peace. Over time, as she allowed herself to stay, the tremors subsided. Her breathing deepened. The chaos grew quiet. She hadn't fallen in love with a man. She had fallen back into herself. Jung called this process embodied integration. It is when the body begins to unify what was once divided: desire and safety, intimacy and independence, surrender and strength. It's not the fairy tale of healing through another person. It's the deeper work of healing through your own willingness to stay open while being seen. And yes, even the best relationships will still bring challenges. But with the right person, conflict doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like growth. Your body no longer collapses or freezes. It stays present. You can disagree and still feel connected. This is how love matures, not through perfection, but through regulation. Jung called it dynamic equilibrium, the state where two souls can move together and apart without losing their center. Maybe this is what love truly means, not the promise that you'll never be hurt again, but the knowing that your body can now handle life without shutting down. It's the freedom to feel everything: joy, fear, longing, without running from any of it. It's the gentle confidence that even if love changes form, you will remain whole. So if you ever find yourself trembling just as life starts to feel peaceful, pause. Don't scold your fear. Don't chase the rush. Just breathe. Tell your body, it's safe now, because healing doesn't happen in escape. It happens in presence. Jung once wrote that the task of love is not to merge, but to witness, to look into another person's eyes and see both their beauty and their shadow, and stay. To do that, you must first make peace with your own. That is the work of integration. When love stops being a search for rescue and becomes the daily act of returning home again and again to yourself. When the body finally learns to rest in love, something subtle yet extraordinary happens. The world itself begins to feel different. You move slower, speak softer, notice more. The noise of comparison quiets, and life no longer feels like a race to be understood because you have finally understood yourself. But Jung believed this transformation was never meant to end with two people. What begins in the nervous system of one heart extends outward into family, community, and the shared soul of humanity. The way you love, the way you listen, the way you allow safety to exist between you and another becomes a quiet revolution. So, perhaps the real question isn't just how does your body know when it's the right person, but what happens to the world when you finally learn to trust at knowing? Let's explore that together. The larger meaning behind this quiet wisdom and what it reveals about love, wholeness, and the evolution of the human spirit.
When Jung spoke of love, he never meant only romance. He meant the great work of becoming whole, the lifelong dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious, between the mind and the body, between what we know and what we fear to feel. What begins as the story of two people meeting becomes the mirror of an ancient truth. Every human being is searching for a home inside themselves. The right person is never the final destination. They are the reflection that shows you where home truly is. As you learn to listen to your body, you begin to see that love is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you. It is not about possession or even belonging. It is the slow awakening of awareness, the understanding that every connection, even the painful ones, carries meaning. The one who hurt you revealed your shadow. The one who stayed taught you peace. Each of them shaped the language of your body until you could finally hear what it was saying. When you live long enough, you begin to see the pattern. Every encounter was never random. Each relationship, each heartbreak, each fleeting connection was a lesson in perception. Some taught you intensity, others taught you calm. Some showed you what love is not, so that one day you would recognize what love truly is. Jung called this the individuation process, the soul's journey toward integration through experience. Love, then, is not the opposite of loss. It is the teacher that transforms loss into understanding. Have you ever wondered why the most important people in your life seem to appear exactly when you are ready for them, or ready to lose them? That, Jung would say, is synchronicity, the universe arranging itself in response to your readiness to grow. Every time your body expands to hold more truth, life sends you someone or something that resonates at that new frequency. Love isn't a single story. It's a continuous conversation between you and existence itself. At this stage of life, perhaps in your 50s or 60s, you start to see how your body has always been the quiet companion in this journey. It trembled when you were afraid. It tightened when you denied your needs. It softened when you found peace. It was never your enemy. It was your map. And now when you look back, you realize that every decision, every heartbreak, every reconciliation was guided by this silent compass within you. Jung believed that the greatest form of love is awareness, the capacity to hold both joy and sorrow without collapsing into either. When you reach that place, you stop asking, "Is this person right for me?" and begin to ask, "Can I stay true to myself while I love them?" That shift changes everything. Love ceases to be a test of endurance and becomes a practice of consciousness. Perhaps that is the deeper purpose of all connection, to awaken in us a kind of spiritual maturity, to learn that peace is not the absence of longing, but the presence of understanding, to see that the body, in all its fragility, is the temple where spirit and matter meet, and to know that every heartbeat, every breath, is a dialogue between the visible and the invisible. So when you ask, "How do I know it's the right person?" Jung's answer would be both simple and profound.
when being with them feels like remembering who you are, when love no longer pulls you away from yourself but brings you closer to it, when silence between you is not emptiness but shared awareness. That is the kind of love that heals not only two individuals, but the world they touch. Because every time a human being learns to love consciously, the collective psyche changes. A little less fear, a little more peace, a little more faith in the quiet wisdom that has been with us since the beginning, the wisdom of the body, the pulse of the soul, the silent intelligence of life itself.
In the end, love is not something you find. It is something you remember. The body has known it all along. Who feels safe? Who feels true? Who awakens your peace instead of your fear? It was never silent. It was only waiting for you to listen. And once you do, the noise of confusion fades. The search softens. You stop chasing signs from the outside and start hearing the gentle rhythm within. Maybe that's what Jung wanted us to understand, that every connection, every heartbreak, every quiet evening spent alone was never wasted. They were all steps in the same direction, toward the moment you could finally feel your own truth again. The moment you could say, "This feels like me. This feels like home." So if you are still searching, don't look so far ahead. The compass is already inside you. It beats beneath your ribs. It speaks through breath and stillness. Trust it. When you meet the person who matches that inner peace, you won't need confirmation. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. If tonight's reflection spoke to something inside you, I invite you to stay with this community. Leave a comment, share what your body has been trying to tell you all these years, and let others feel less alone in their own journey. And don't forget to follow, so you can continue listening to more stories, more truths, and more gentle reminders that healing and love begin within. Thank you for spending this time with us. May you go gently, breathe deeply, and trust the wisdom that has never once abandoned you, the quiet knowing of your own heart.